Reality is like a film set. There are directors,
Action!
producers,
Are we on schedule?
and even actors.
Can somebody get me a coffee?
The trick is realizing that you are playing all of these roles. You are the executive producer of your reality. My name is Daniel,
My name is Lauren.
and we're here to break the fourth wall to discover what's behind the scenes. And what you hear just might have you saying, "That's so meta."
Welcome to That's So Meta, where we discuss the mystical, magical, and metaphysical. I'm Lauren Marie,
And I'm Daniel James.
and today's episode is going to be about time. We don't usually do outlines for these episodes,
Yeah.
so we just kind of picked a topic and we're going to freestyle it. But do you want to kick us off? What is time?
Time. Let's look at time from a metaphysical perspective. The first thing, okay, so yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, let's just address the fact that time is the fourth dimension in our reality. So we have height, width, density, right? And then time is the fourth one. So we live in the fourth dimension, not the third, which is a common misconception.
correct.
Yeah.
So time, like Lauren said, is a variable that makes up the dimension that we exist in.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a topic that we cover in our other series, Reality Mechanics. So we're going to break down time from our understanding, and we'll talk a little bit about how it works and why it serves us in our experience that we're having, and then where the concept of time is going.
Mm-hmm.
So time is nonlinear. It's a fun, trendy thing to say in mainstream media now that time is a construct, right?
It's just a construct, dude.
Time is just a construct of the mind. But scientifically, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Time is a dimensional variable. It's a dimensional aspect.
Mm-hmm.
In the third and fourth dimensional matrix, time is linear. We perceive it as being linear, a succession of moments
Mm-hmm.
from moment to moment, minute to minute, hour to hour.
Like cause to effect.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But time is actually created from the now moment. And what this means is that there is no past, there is no future. The future doesn't exist.
Right.
Now we project a concept of memory.
Mhm.
We project a concept of history. And we think about what we have to do in an hour, or what time we have to get to work,
Mm-hmm.
when we have to be at our appointment. We think about what we're doing next week and what our plans are for the new year, right?
Mhm.
But those are thoughts that are being projected forward
Mm-hmm.
through quote unquote time in a linear way. Because this is the formula and the structure of the dimension we exist in.
Mm-hmm.
It works linearly.
Mm-hmm.
So scientifically speaking, I'm going to borrow a Bashar analogy here. Time is like video or a film strip.
Mhm.
We know that when you record video, it is a succession of still images stitched together that play in a linear order.
Mhm.
But each one of those still images, whether it's a film strip or whether it's digital recording, it's all moments.
Mm-hmm. Small frames that, when played rapidly together,
Create
feel like motion.
motion, create the illusion of motion. But they're still images. If you pause or rewind or fast forward and you stop it,
Mhm.
it is one still image. It is not a motion object.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a motion image. That's the way your physical reality is created.
Mm-hmm.
And physical reality, being a succession of still images, has a speed.
Mm-hmm.
And the speed of your physical reality is Planck time, which is the speed that it takes light to travel the shortest amount of distance. So faster than the speed of light, but Planck time.
Yeah.
That is the rate, the vibrational frequency that time flickers, like a video clip or a film reel. But it's just a succession of still moments. So if time isn't actually progressing forward in a linear way, the way that we actually break it down and perceive it in the third and fourth dimensional matrix, if it's all a succession of still moments, then that means history is now from the perspective of this still frame.
Right.
And the future is now from the perspective of this still frame. Which means that the only moment you ever experience is the now moment that you're in right now. Because as we're in a succession of still frames that create the illusion of motion, shifting through billions and billions and billions of different still frames to create the illusion of motion, it's always still right now from whichever of those frames you're at in the film strip, in the video file. And to give you an analogy, if Lauren picks her cup up and she takes a drink, she puts the cup down. Every single moment that it took, linearly speaking, for her to pick the cup up, drink, and put it down was a succession of still frames moving through Planck time, billions of times per second. A succession of still now moments to create the illusion of motion. But every one Planck time, nanosecond, billionth of a second, which is the rate in which your physical reality is created in terms of speed, is all its own reality. It's all its own moment. And every billionth of a second that it took for her to pick the cup up, take a drink, and put it down was a still frame that doesn't move. It stays in its one position forever, backwards and forever forwards. And each one of them is its own version of reality completely.
Which is why technically, from that perspective, the past doesn't exist.
Correct.
And why the future doesn't exist, because it's always right now.
It's always right now.
Which leads to the idea that your now moment could be in the future or the past, and that you do have the ability to sort of change the speed in which you are perceiving time.
Yes.
Based on the frequency that you're putting out. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes. So what Lauren's referring to is that although there is a speed that reality is created at, a speed in which time moves, there's a speed in which time moves based on the way that we linearize it in our third and fourth dimension. There's also a vibrational frequency of your mind, of your body, of your consciousness, your physical being that exists inside the dimension that has time, has a vibrational rate, a hertz frequency. Everything does. Every physical object in your reality is oscillating and vibrating at a hertz frequency. And that vibrational hertz frequency is a variable of what makes up the object itself. Well, the human mind and the human body, powered by your consciousness as a creator being, which vibrates at its own hertz frequency and oscillates, can speed up and slow down. And when you're in a state of joy, when you're in a state of excitement, your physical body, your physical mind, your physical vessel that's having the human experience in the third and fourth dimensional matrix speeds up, because the speed of joy and the speed of excitement and the speed of happiness and the speed of love increases your vibrational frequency and your hertz range, and you oscillate faster, like electricity. And what can happen when you're in these positive states of joy and passion and excitement and love, you can literally vibrate faster than the rate that time moves. You can vibrate faster than the rate of your physical reality is projected in a succession of still now moments. You can vibrate faster than that speed. And when this happens, you literally break out of the time construct, and you are no longer limited by or subservient to linear time. You're vibrating faster than the rate that it moves in physicality, in the physical dimension, and you are now almost hovering above it. And so the frequencies that we vibrate, low, high, they all have an effect on our vibrational physical reality. And the frequency of joy, love, and excitement and passion tend to be frequencies that vibrate you faster than the speed your reality is created at. And you're still going to experience a version of reality in those now moments, but you're actually outside of the construct that moves those in a linear way. And what happens is you start noticing lapses and skippages. What happens when you're doing the thing you love? Well, time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just gets away from you.
Time flies when you're doing the thing you love. What happens when you're doing something that you don't enjoy, that puts you in a low vibration, or maybe doesn't excite you but bogs you down, you know, with your emotions and your feelings and your body? What happens?
Everything comes to a halt, and
You're looking at the clock every 5 minutes,
yeah,
and it's only moved 40 seconds
in 2 hours.
in 3 days. Right?
Yeah. So think of it like a waveform. So the faster you're vibrating, the closer that the waves are together, which means that time is kind of being compressed, and you can hop over the parts that are a little bit slower, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right?
You can jump time.
When you're vibrating slower, because you're in a lower vibration, you're down, you're dense, it's all stretched out. And the waveforms are a lot farther apart. And so you experience every one of them. And it feels like time is just dragging on,
Yes. So let's expand on this further. I have some friends, if you watch our show and you're interested about the things that we discuss and we teach, we've had some people ask some questions about how can we break free of the linear time construct? How can we make it more malleable? What can we do in a very 3D life where we have a job and we have kids and we have appointments to make and we have deadlines and things are due, right? Well, those concepts are what really keep you anchored and rooted in the linear time formula, in that time matrix, right? Watches, clocks, times, dates, appointments. I got to be there. I have an appointment. I start work at 8 o'clock. Those are all thought processes and paradigms and systems that we're in that actually help reinforce the linear time construct itself. You see, although we exist in a dimension where time is it's a variable, it's something we experience, it's malleable, and you can control it once you understand how it works and in what ways you're actually feeding into it and giving it power.
Exactly.
When you're playing the game of time, you're going to experience every second of it. So they ask me, how do we, in a very third dimensional reality where we have appointments and things to do, how do we practice more lucid time experience? How do we sort of, rise above it or shift out of it or play with it more? And that's what we want to do. We want to play more. Let's not look at this at like some sort of very scientific labor that we have to learn and then practice all the time. We got to make it fun. And that's what's going to help us really sort of
Utilize it.
and break free from it being so limiting, right? Because time can be very limiting when you look at it from a third dimensional perspective. So looking at it from like a more fifth density or fifth dimension perspective, anywhere above the third and fourth frequencies that we exist in. Let's say you have a day job and you don't like your day job and you look at the clock every 5 minutes until the 8-hour shift is up. Well, that's what's going to anchor you into the linear process of time. And that's also why when you go home and you get off work, you got to run your errands real quick. You want to, enjoy some, hobbies and some leisurely activities, but they go by so fast because you are already anticipating needing to get a certain amount of sleep, wake up in the morning and go back to work and continue the paradigm, right? Let's go back to the beginning of the story. Time is created from the now moment, which means your history exists now. Your future exists now. So here's an exercise you can try, a tool you can use in any moment of the day, no matter what you're doing the dishes, taking care of your kids, working, it doesn't matter. Because we tend to notice time the most when we feel like we don't have enough of it or we're doing something that isn't very exciting.
Right.
Which any of those things could be exciting, but I'm speaking in terms of situations where you're doing something that you know that you want to get through really quickly or you might not have enough time to do. Time is created from the now moment. No matter what time it is, when you look at the clock, it's right now. No matter where you are in your physical reality, you're right here. And you can ask yourself that any time of the day, and you're always going to get the same answer. Okay, you can be semantical and be like, no, it's 3:33, right? So you say, what time is it? It's 3:33. Sure, if you're looking at a clock, that's the way you want to look at it. Yeah. Or you could say, it's right now, in this moment. And then you look around yourself and you say, where am I? Well, I'm right here. What time is it? It's right now. So you're not thinking about what you did 5 minutes ago or what you have to do 5 minutes from now.
You're regrounding yourself to the present moment.
Present moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you stay present and you're not projecting your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions forward into the future, trying to anticipate what you're going to experience or what this person's going to say or what you have to do or what expectation or obligation you have to fulfill, that's what keeps you rooted in the time matrix. When you're not thinking about the mistake you made last night or the argument you had or the fact that you were late to work or something that you're ruminating about, you're stuck about that happened yesterday or even, 20 minutes ago or 10 years ago, you're not projecting your thoughts, your feelings and emotions backwards. You're staying right here, right now, which is literally the only moment in creation. Because no matter how many times a day you ask yourself those two questions, you can be semantical about it. But if you strip it back, where am I? I'm right here. When am I? I'm right now. You're always here and you're always now.
Yeah.
No matter what time of the day you ask yourself that question. Which means, linearly speaking, there is no past because you're right here and right now in this still moment, in this frame of the video. There is no future because you're right here, right now in this still frame. Everything outside of your immediate moment, your immediate awareness, and your 3D senses is just probable quantum energy. So here's what you can do in your day-to-day life to help grow and expand your perception of time and start playing with it, making it more malleable. like clay instead of it just being like this rock that you can't do anything about. You're just stuck within.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a tool that you can use in exercise. Look around you and assess your surroundings and what situation you're in. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that I'm right here and I'm right now. I can't do anything about the past,
Mm-hmm.
so there's no point in obsessing over it. I have an understanding of what I would like to experience and where I would like to go and what I'd like to do next,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not in the future.
Right.
That's all probable. That's all potential.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing exists. Nothing is finite. Nothing is certain about the future. I'm right here and right now, and this is where my power is.
Mm-hmm.
That's step one. Remind yourself that the power is in the now. It's not in the past, and it's not in the future. And obsessing in either direction outside of the now moment is what's going to continue to create linear time and anchor you in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're never where it matters most, which is right here and right now. The next part of the process, the tool, is let's get back to vibration and frequency. If time itself, linear time, oscillates at a certain rate, a hertz frequency, a value, and your consciousness can vibrate scientifically faster than that,
Mm-hmm.
by being in a state of joy, passion, love, or excitement, then what's going to happen is you're doing these things that you enjoy. You're making time for them when you can.
Mm-hmm.
As in, if you got a job, work, do your job. If you have to clean the house, take care of your kids, do your chores, do them.
Mm-hmm.
But make time for yourself to do what excites you the most.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you can, however you can, that's most representative of the thing that excites you the most, and be in that frequency. Take that action, do that thing as often as you're able. Because when you're in those frequencies of joy, love, passion, and excitement, you are going to literally vibrate faster than the speed of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stop aging. You can assess your life differently.
Mm-hmm.
You can get more done.
Mm-hmm.
You can take on more projects.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take better control over the circumstances in your life because you're no longer bound by this one variable aspect of physics, that we are subject to time, that we are anchored to it and bound by it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at the timeline like a streaming video,
Mm-hmm.
or a video that you can rewind, pause, or fast forward. This is how your time works in a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And when you vibrate above that, you can perceive it from a higher perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and you have more control over your life and the circumstances and the actions you can take, because you're literally vibrating faster than the speed and the time you have to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So take time for yourself to do something that you love, that you enjoy, whatever that is for you, and be in that frequency of joy, love, excitement, passion. And you'll start to notice skippages in time,
Yeah.
lapses in time, moments in time coming and going all together.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start to get these reflections in your reality of how non-linear time really is.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how time works in higher dimensions, in different, densities and all that.
So another variable of time is the density that you exist in. The density that your physical body exists in, which right now is the third density. And if you follow ascension and the expansion of consciousness, there's the concept that we're vibrating into a fourth density existence. We're right there kind of at the cusp, the transitional phase.
Mm-hmm.
But density tends to dictate a little bit depending on your awareness of time itself. It tends to dictate how much you experience of it,
Mm-hmm.
the rate in which you experience the time as a system
Mm-hmm.
that functions, right? Well, we're in the third density going into the fourth, which means you're going to be very aware of linear time because it's part of the way that the systems work here in this
Right.
version of the matrix. In higher dimensions and in lighter densities, time innately, naturally just becomes more malleable, more lucid,
Mm-hmm.
more flexible, less concrete. For example, when you have a dream at night, you often experience this very mix of different time periods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I have a dream, I'll be at my childhood house with my childhood room, my childhood things,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll be this age
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be in circumstances that I went through at that age
Mm-hmm.
in one moment. And then all of a sudden the dream shifts and I'm in a present day situation,
Mm-hmm.
still my own same age.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shifts again. And now I'm in like a whole nother narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And your dream state, you jump around like this, back and forth to all of these different time periods in different ages and different circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
It's very malleable, right? It jumps around all over the place because in the dream state, your consciousness is in a higher dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So your perception, your awareness isn't actually in a state of imagination. This isn't just your subconscious playing out, but it is a version of your consciousness experiencing reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to a dimensional state where reality is more lucid,
Mm-hmm.
more free form,
A little bit more like water than stone.
a little bit more like water than stone. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why time jumps around so much when you're dreaming. So getting back to the concept of density and dimension, well, there's a lot of talk about the fifth dimension and being in a fourth density vibration. As we ascend or expand in our consciousness to a lighter density and a higher dimensional state, like more specifically the fifth dimension, the concept, the root function, the root value of time itself
Mm-hmm.
starts to work more like it does in the dream state.
Mm-hmm.
You're not having so much of a linear, you're not bound by so much of a linear succession of sequences and events that are organized by time.
Mm-hmm.
This means that you can multitask, you can achieve more
Mm-hmm.
in a day, get more done in an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also re-experience things that you have seemingly already gone through in a different way, from a different perspective, because if time is non-linear,
Mm-hmm.
and you experience innately your core function, your operating system in a fourth density or a fifth dimensional physical experience is more malleable time in time terms, then this means that your past, present, and your future are even more succinct to each other.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example of how your reality works when you're not bound by linear time, like we are in the third and fourth dimensions, in the
Mhm.
third density. It's more malleable.
Mm-hmm.
So to recap, the ways in which we can experience less linear time is to stay present in the now moment. I know that seems cliche, but it's the reason why that's repeated so much in different areas of, spiritual development is because it's how it works. It's the
Yeah.
mechanism. Staying present in the now moment frees you from linear time because you're not obsessed about the past and you're not obsessed about the future.
Mm-hmm.
And the actions and the tools and the exercises you can take in a busy day-to-day life where you have times and appointments and deadlines and places to be, go ahead and do those things. I understand if your reality reflects the belief that you need to do these things,
Mm-hmm.
you subscribe to the concept of obligation. I understand, I respect that, but make time for yourself to be in a state of joy,
Mm-hmm.
to be in a state of excitement and love and passion.
Mm-hmm.
Make time for yourself to do the things that are important to you in an exciting way,
Mm-hmm.
and you will literally start to vibrate faster than the rate of time. And then you start to have more control over the linear sequence of the circumstances in your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way that works in the dream state. This is the way it works in the fifth dimension. And then as you get into higher dimensions, even above that, and lighter densities,
Mm-hmm.
it gets even more and more liquid.
Yeah.
So these are our thoughts and opinions on the concept of time, and some perspectives and some tools and some exercises that you can use to sort of help free yourself from the time construct.
Yeah. If you have any tips and tricks you would like to share with us, let us know. I would like to get a discussion going down in the comments about like what your perception of time is and how you travel through it and all that. So yeah, let's
Cool.
get some other perspectives in here.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, we'd like to thank our sponsor today, which is the Steel Town Entertainment Project here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Thank you, Steel Town, for having us. It's
Mhm.
always a pleasure.
Always.
And we are always accepting sponsorships and donations to support the cost of our show.
Yeah.
This is still very grassroots, you know. Obviously, we could use some set design and,
Yeah.
you know, we want to make a cool intro graphic for the show. We want to have like an animation there,
Mhm.
little things like that. So everything helps, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
And the next episode of That's So Meta will be on the concept of ascension.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, there she go.